Hello and welcome. So in today's video I'm going to show you how I edited these 3 images. Now all these images were edited in both Lightroom and Photoshop, and I'm going to show you the images which were raw, captured straight out of the camera, and I'm going to take you through the whole process of how I got from A to B. So yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, so here we are. This is the first image that I'm going to be showing you today. As you can see, I've got 3 images to show you. I'm going to start right at the beginning. So this was an image that I captured during the bridal prep. Now, I've got a thing with mirrors at weddings. If there's a mirror, I'm guaranteed to take advantage of it and use it if I can, really. And as you can see, I've used the makeup mirror that the makeup artists actually brought along with them. So one of the first things I always do when editing is apply my preset. So with presets, it just gives you a bit of a base ground to go from. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't always give you the results that you want, but like I say, it's certainly a good place to start. The next step that I take is I'm going to crop. I'll crop slightly into this image. Okay, so now we've cropped in. The next step I want to take is I want to make sure that the bride's face isn't too bright, and obviously with this preset it has made her face go far too bright, so we're going to take that down a smidge. There we go. Okay, so with the overall sort of temperature of this image, it is a bit too warm. I mean, outside of the mirror it's definitely too warm, but on the bride's face actually I do like the temperature. So the next trick that I'm going to take is I'm going to use a brush, and with this brush I'm going to basically cool down the whole scene outside of the mirror. Now if you click O on the keyboard, that's going to show you exactly where that brush is hitting. Now I absolutely love brushes and I actually use them probably too much, but they're definitely a go-to tool for when I edit photographs. I never used to use these years ago because I never actually understood really, I didn't really know they existed, to be honest with you, but now I couldn't be without them. Clicking O again, I'm going to see exactly what's happened there. Okay, so you'll see if I slide it all the way to the right, it goes really warm, all the way to the left, and the temperature cools right down. So that nearly is where I want it. There we go. Okay, so now that we've cooled down this whole scene outside of the mirror, we're going to take the next step, which is we're going to focus on the actual reflection. So as you can see, in the top left of the mirror it's a little bit overexposed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that down. I'm not going to be able to take it down fully without it looking a bit stupid really, but I'm going to make it look as natural as I can. A little tip here is if you see a red spot in your image, that means it's overexposed. Now, the job really is to try and get them red spots out. It can't always be achieved, and I don't think I'm gonna get exactly where I want to be with this, but I'm gonna do the best job I can. Because the aim really with this image is you want your main focus to be on the bride's face itself. Okay. Now that's done. Like I say, we've not managed to take these red spots out fully. I think if I took the exposure on that brush any further down, it'd just look really noticeable that I've used the brush. And with brushes, you don't want it to look too obvious. But already just doing a few of them simple steps, I'm going to show you now a little before and after. So using backslash on the keyboard, it'll actually show you the before and after. So that's before and after. And already you can see what a massive difference editing actually makes. Something else that's caught my eye is these little spots on the wall, little marks. So little things like that, for me personally, I find a bit too distracting. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to use the spot removal tool, which will get rid of these little spots. Spot removal tool is a great tool to use if you want to get rid of certain things out of an image. Now, it doesn't always work. There's actually another tool that I use in Photoshop, which is brilliant. It gets rid of things a lot easier. And I find that with a photograph, you don't always want a lot of distracting elements in the image, because you'll find that if you have got too many distracting elements, it kind of draws your eye in the wrong direction. So when I edit an image, I purposely edit it in a way that I want when people are looking at it, their eyes to be drawn to a certain part of the photo instantly. And now in this image, it's safe to say that your eyes are drawn to this reflection, as everything is slightly darker. Now in this exposure, if the whole room was really bright and all these walls were super bright, I think the bride would get lost in this image. But thankfully, when I exposed for this shot in camera, I actually added a pop of flash onto the bride's face, which obviously made her stand out against the scene. So the next step is I'm going to add a tiny bit of contrast, take the blacks down a little bit, bring the shadows up a bit, exposure down a tiny bit. Okay, add a tiny bit of sharpness, but we're going to use the spot removal tool just to take out the little blemishes on the bride's skin. I'm going to add a tiny bit more contrast, and there you are. Really, really simple edit. And again, I'm going to show you the results of the before and after. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next image. Now, instantly on this image, you're going to say that it's looking really dark. And you know what? You wouldn't be wrong in saying that. Now, the reason it's that dark is because I've exposed for the brightest part of the scene, which is the bride's wedding dress. Now, if I'd exposed for the whole scene, it would have completely blown out the wedding dress itself, as you can see there. So the trick is, when you're taking a photo in camera, you want to expose for the brightest part of the scene, which again in this particular scene is the dress itself. So we're going to apply our preset, which has instantly warmed everything up. In fact, I want to warm that up a tiny bit more. There we go. And now the next thing I'm going to do is crop into the image. You'll see I generally take the same steps with every single photograph that I capture. It's sort of a bit of a process that I take. Now, everybody edits slightly differently, takes a slightly different process. But usually what I'll do, the first thing I do is add the preset, apply the crop, and then I'll go from there. So that's pretty much how I want it. Yeah, pretty much perfect. Okay, so I'm going to up the exposure. And now I'm going to apply a brush. Now I'm going to apply this brush to the bride's face. Her arm. There we go, that's looking perfect. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply another brush, but to the actual reflection. Now, to achieve these reflections, it's actually really, really easy. All you do is you place your smartphone up against your camera lens itself. Your mobile phone actually acts as like a mirror. This is a really cool technique which I picked up a couple of years back. I know I don't overly use it, but I definitely like to use it a couple of times at a wedding. We're going to add a pop of clarity onto that, just to make that pop a tiny bit more, brighten it up ever so slightly. There we go. Okay, now for me, this wedding dress itself is still looking a bit too bright. Now I've brought up the whole exposure of the scene, the dress has gone a bit brighter than I would like it to be. So again, I'm going to add a highlights brush, but I'm going to take the highlights down to about -10, -15, and let's see where we end up with that. And that will bring this dress down ever so slightly. That's probably a bit too much, so yeah, let's go to -10. There we are. Okay, now nearly got it where we want it to be. Tiny bit more exposure, contrast. Yeah, okay, so this is, I'd say we're about 90% of the way now. There are actually distracting elements in this image still, which is behind the bride. I'm not too sure what this is. Let's take that up. Oh, it's a mirror. I'm going to take that out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take that into Photoshop. Okay, so now we are in Photoshop. The main tools I'm using here is called the lasso tool, and this is brilliant for literally just editing out certain things you don't want in the photo. So we're going to draw around this. You click delete, enter, and there you have it, it's gone. And that's it, it really is that easy. Now, I probably could have used the spot removal tool to get rid of that, but I just wanted to show you exactly what the lasso tool is. It's brilliant for getting out certain things in an image, distracting elements. So now that's done, we're going to save it, and that should take it back into Lightroom. And there you have it, that's another image edited. Okay, so the last image, this is one of the trickiest edits I think I've done for a very long time. The aim with this is to get the flash out of this image, which we will get to in a moment. But what I'm going to do, as I normally always do, is I'm going to apply a preset, which has instantly warmed everything up, probably too much actually in this image. So I'm going to take the temperature down slightly. There we go. And then we're going to apply the crop. Now for this, I'm going to apply a 16:9 crop, just something a little bit different. Okay, so now we've applied our crop, we're going to go to the exposure, bring everything down ever so slightly. I just wanted to show you this image in particular, just to show you that you can edit out things like this with the light stand and stuff. Admittedly, I've made a bigger job for myself than I should have done really. Now, if I had used that flash and there was a sky in the background, that would have been so much easier to take out, but because there's brickwork and it's all really detailed, it's going to be a bigger job to get that out of the image and to make it look natural still, but it can be done. What we're going to do before I take that out though is we're going to get everything looking the best I can in Lightroom. As you see, the bride's dress is still really too bright, so we're going to bring that down slightly. I'm going to apply a brush onto the wedding dress. We're going to bring the highlights down on the dress to bring back some detail. See, the whites are really quite blown out at the moment, but power of editing, you can bring that all back. Okay, now we've applied the brush. As you can see, it's brought back all the detail in that dress. It's looking pretty much spot on now. I'm going to use another tool, which is the it's the radial filter tool. I want to bring that exposure down for the whole scene as much as I can, without the bride and groom going too dark. So what we're going to do, we're going to apply the filter around the bride and groom. And as you can see, this filter now is going to hit everything around the image apart from the bride and groom. So I'm going to bring the exposure down. And again, when you look at this image, your eyes are going to instantly be drawn to the bride and groom. If I hadn't have done this, your eyes might have gone drawn to the windows, as the, the sky's being reflected back and it is quite bright. It's nearly where we want it. I'm going to take the temperature down ever so slightly. There we go, that's looking much better. A pop of contrast, a tiny bit of exposure. Bring the shadows up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take it back into Photoshop. Like I said, the trick now is to get rid of this light stand and to make it look as natural as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lasso tool, get rid of the legs at the bottom. As you can see, even that's not doing the greatest job, so I'm going to use another tool, which is the clone stamp tool. Now with the clone stamp tool, this is a tool that I don't use it too often, but it certainly works when I need it to. So what you do, you click Alt into an area that you want to copy, and then I'm going to draw that in. Okay, so it's slowly getting there. This is such a long process. I think over time, as I keep learning, this will become quicker and quicker. As you can see, this brickwork is still looking a bit off, so with the magic of using the clone tool, we're going to have to make this look as natural as we can. Again, this is going to take a little while, but I promise you we'll get there. And there you have it. I'm going to show you the actual image that I delivered to the couple. I think I spent a bit more time on getting this right, but I just wanted to show you that with a few simple tools you can get rid of a full-on light stand out of the scene. I mean, look, it takes up quite a bit of the scene. It's really noticeable, and obviously I had to get rid of that, and it can be done. So yeah, there you are. So we're going to save that. And the lasso tool and the clone stamp tool are actual lifesavers, I promise you. They've got me out of some sticky situations they have, where if I hadn't have known of them tools, I probably wouldn't have delivered the images. But thankfully now I know what I'm doing with them, I can create certain images like this. So So there you have it. I've just shown you how I edited 3 images and how I got from the raw file to the end result. And as you see, it doesn't take a hell of a lot of work to go from point A to point B. It's just a little know-how. But yeah, if you've liked what you've watched, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.